All right, we will call the meeting to order. I'm Don Hall. I know that Beth Burns is there in person. Who else do we have?
Jason Spivey.
All right. Hey, Jason.
Go where?
All right. And Brent and Phil, are y'all on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we've got a full house, and we've got Brandon McPherson is on the phone, and so we are good to go. So let's go ahead with the first item.
All right, first item on the list is the Bar and Bar revised contract with them, and know that I received information from Mr. Springer on some changes there. I don't know, Mr. Springer, if you want to go through your request for change.
Yes, sir. Where do you want to start, Dr. Love?
I guess just start with 1.1.1 and kind of go through what your recommendations for change are.
Okay. 1.1, assist with reviewing critical path management construction schedule, provide the Board of Education advice and presentations or via weekly email with recommendations in the why. The product materials submittal schedule should only reflect sustainability of the project schedule value. So essentially what I'm adding is the submittal, whatever they're going to add or whatever they have question about should be sustainable in the material. The next one, 1.12, attend all OEC meetings. They happen every other Tuesday. Thus far, Dr. Breelove, myself, and Phil have been the only attendees, but I feel like this has been, this is something the project manager needs to also attend, either on-site or remote. 1.13, ensuring the design teams, the team designs a school for the best quality practice, including sustainability. We talked about that, the pre-con meeting. Ms. Burns and I were at that meeting. Sustainability was mentioned along with probably 30 or 40 other items on the board. 1.1.11, assist with the final project inspection, including a punch list. Punch list I did not see on the, or used in the verbiage on the contract. I think that's imperative to have on there. And ensures completion on time. Deficiency found in quality assurance control walks shall be fixed immediately. The assurance walks is fixing the problem before it happens. The the control walk would be to fix the problem after it's already happened. 1.1.12, attend all site and building system inspections, including but not limited to third-party inspections. Anytime a third party goes out and inspects, because Bordeaux may or may not hire SM&E or another engineering firm to do their inspections. Pass or fail, I think, is the project manager needs to be well aware so he can converse this to the board. 1.1.15, attend all board education meetings, presentation on construction progress. This is something Ms. Burns and I asked for bi-weekly, I think initially, but minimum, I think all monthly meetings for presentations, and basically trying to establish open communication with the project manager and him being the liaison between the board and the contractor. It also, I'm not, Dr. Breelove, maybe you can fill me in on the survey, what that looks like. I'm not sure where this came from. I know I went around and I talked to teachers at different schools asking what would be most effective and efficient. Things that I noted, I turned into Ms. Gardner, and it did not get turned over according to Mr. Warren. So I don't know what independent surveys we're referring to on this, but I would be willing to entertain if you could please so advise us what this is looking like.
No, sir. I will have to check into that to see what that was and what it would look like.
Okay, so some of the teachers, as I told Mr. Warren on the phone here a while back, some of those teachers asked for electrical outlets, cubby holes. I mean, there's a vast majority of things these teachers were asking for. Some of them, specifically, I will speak on Pender. You got classrooms on the inside; they have no windows. I mean, at all to any ambient lighting or natural lighting. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying we can't have that or we need that, but these are some of the things in the design that can be fixed.
Hey, Mr. Springer, I've got Mike Taylor, who was a part of that original, just the committees that were brought in, and maybe that's what it's referring to. Mr. Taylor, can you address that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Springer, I'm unaware of specific items related to how many electrical outlets you are mentioning. We did invite groups of people from all across the district who were in certain specialty areas to have a collaborative meeting with the design team. We brought in our media coordinators, various groups, various media coordinators for elementary and middle school, health and PE teachers for elementary and middle school, child nutrition staff from elementary and middle school, teachers from elementary, both K2 and 3-5, as well as middle school teachers in 6-8 from different collective curriculums. Additionally, we had the curriculum directors, both Ms. Owens for the elementary and Dr. Lee for the middle school, who also attended when we were going through classroom organization and other design aspects during the DD timeframe.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
1.2, a weekly updated schedule shall be sent to the Board of Education to assist the superintendent as well as the Board of Education. The schedule's always been lagging, in my opinion, for what it's worth. But also, we've gotten one that I know of. We've gotten one completed schedule, and now it has to be updated because the work is progressing so fast. Obviously this rain that we're getting today is probably going to hold up a couple of days, but it should not, in my opinion, it should not hold up delivering dirt. And that should reflect in that schedule. 1.3, provider warrants that all agents, employees who provide service under contract will be fully qualified and give qualifications to the Board of Education within 10 days of commencement work. That should also include OSHA certifications. When we were in talks with the contractor, we asked for OSHA 500 card. They did not seem to want to get that. Also, I would like to see the certifications. Ms. Burns specifically put out the contractor was a professional. I want to make sure we're hiring professionals here too. I think the taxpayers deserve as such. 1.4, the provider shall also ensure that third parties test their independent equipment is calibrated current before testing. I think that's self-explanatory. I don't see that this, with all the times in the contract, I struck out September 1st, used the 30th, and we'll negotiate from 542 to 375.5. Also, criminal background checks within 5 consecutive days instead of business days, and that falls on both sets of that. And number 12, and that's about all I have. But what else? One other thing I would like to add is I would like for the project manager to keep change orders to minimal levels. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on any of those?
Hi, this is Beth Burns. I will agree with Mr. Springer. To me, the most concerning part of the contract was 1.3, which was qualifications of provider. providers shall not provide professional services on this project to constitute the practice of architecture or engineering. This whole contract is about providing us professional engineering services. And so quite honestly, I have to wonder, is this a liability issue with them? Because this entire contract is about providing us representation on this construction site for Pender County Schools. So the whole paragraph that I had seen that Mr. Springer had highlighted, quite honestly, I too am a little concerned about that.
This is Mr. Cordero. To address that comment, I mean, the firm that we're hiring is not a licensed engineer or architect, right? I mean, I assume that's why they put that on there, because they're not licensed to provide such services. So if we want a licensed architect or engineer as our project consultant, it seems like we maybe need to go out to the market again and try and find somebody that has those qualifications, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct, Ms. Cordero. Ms. Burns, I'm gonna caveat off of that. They're not gonna be, I mean, this firm is not gonna be hired to give architectural engineer practices, but they're more of a management company where they're gonna provide, you may have a management company that's a licensed contractor, and they may have a lot of certifications, your lead certification, C&M certification, all kind of different certifications, but they're not certified to do architecture, or they don't have a PME staff. So that's where there again, if we need to go back to the drawing board, that's just what we'll have to do.
Well, this is Mr. Cordero. The only other comment I wanted to, or question was for Mr. McPherson. Mr. McPherson, have you read all the comments that Mr. Springer made, and are you able to incorporate the changes into this agreement?
Mr. Cordero, was that motion or that comment directed to me?
Yes, it was, sir.
Okay, I have no problems with Mr. Springer's additions. I did have a question. Mr. Springer, did you revise the compensation provision?
I did not revise the compensation. Mr. McPherson, what I did was I made an annotation saying that I think we came in at 250,000, and then they more than doubled it, and then I'm countering it with 375.5.
Okay. I will tell you, I don't know with certainty that Bar and Bar will accept that, but if they're not willing to, I'll come back with something else. I just want you to know that, and I want the board to know that.
But also,
and then the liability provision for the providers, Mr. Cordero and Mr. Springer are exactly right. That's more of a insurance liability provision that says, hey, we are neither licensed designers nor engineers, and we're not going to perform those services. So that's why that's in there.
All right, anything else?
Mr. McPherson, one other thing while we're talking about this, 375.5, and you also had September 1st as a start date, will be provided from September 1st, 2024. It should only reflect, I mean, we're already past the 1st, and we're not signing the contracts yet. So I moved that to the 30th to give them time to do whatever they need to do to get their ducks in a row, just as we do. So, and it could even be October 1st for all, for all intents and purposes.
Understood, Mr. Springer.
All right, any more
Well,
questions or comments?
Actually, I do have one closing comment on this. This is Beth Burns. In my opinion, if they are not engineers, they are not qualified to be project management on this project. That's just my opinion.
Ms. Burns, the last guy we talked to, what I'll say is, I don't think he was a licensed engineer either. I would also say that if we go with an engineering firm, that the price is probably going to not look like $542,000.
All right. Anything else? Brandon, there was some checking that you need to do before we can move forward. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I would recommend, especially on the compensation piece, I think the terms piece, I think we'll be able to come to agreement. I just don't know with certainty, that Bar will accept 375.
Well, I mean, how can we vote on this if we don't know that piece to it?
That would be a really important element, to be honest with you, sir. So, I mean, you can approve it, but it's gonna be subject to them coming back and saying yes or no.
How quickly can you find out?
I can get off of this phone call and call them right now.
Okay. Well, how about if we do our next item and then take,
Yeah,
a 30-minute break or something like that, and then start back up and you'll know. Would that be good enough? Is everybody okay with that?
I mean, I think you take up your next item, and I'll get off this phone call and call John Best right now.
Oh, okay, sure. All right, everybody good with that?
I'm good.
All right,
Chris, good.
all right,
Talk to you then.
all right. All right, next item.
All right, we have a request for purchase, and that is a panorama, and I have Miss Leanne Radaball.
And Mr. Taylor, do you have the next item?
Mr. Hall, can you hear me?
Panorama software is what I'm reading on the agenda.
Yeah.
Who has that?
Can you hear me?
This is red.
Can you hear?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, we were talking and you all couldn't hear us. So yes, we have Panorama, and we have Miss Leanne Radaball, who is here to present that, this software.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. We're asking for purchase of a panorama software out of ESSER's money. This program will communicate with Infinite Campus and all of our other academic screening software to help us identify students who are at risk based on multiple data points: behavior, attendance, academics. It also is a clearinghouse for interventions based on academics, behavior, and attendance. And it will also help us track the effectiveness of interventions that we put in place for students, because it has intervention planning built into it that, everyone in the district can have access to. It'll also help us monitor those kinds of things from a district level instead of just school by school. Any questions?
All right, does anyone,
So, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Who was talking?
This is Leanne Radabaugh, the Director of Student Services.
Okay. So, Ms. Radaball, are we trying to take let's use attendance for an example. Are we trying to take that away from the principal?
Absolutely not. This is actually a way, Mr. Springer, to make the principal's, job easier, because they can go to one source to look at this sort of data to determine who is at risk. We're not taking anything away from anybody. We're actually making their lives easier.
So they had access to attendance last year and nothing changed. And so can you give me a good example as to why this is gonna make a big change, or how this is gonna help them, be more, assertive?
So I think what this will do, Mr. Springer, is put all of our data in one place instead of going to Infinite Campus and clicking all the things to get attendance. This will communicate with us, and it'll build a student profile so that we can better determine the root cause of attendance issues instead of just looking at attendance in isolation. So we can look at attendance next to behavior or academics and decide, is the kid not coming to school because the work is too hard? Or is there a behavior barrier to the kid coming to school? I think it'll help us aggregate all of our data into one place.
And how much is this, Ms. Radaball?
It is 91,150 for all schools, all grade levels for the year. 3 years.
Ms. Bradbaugh, this is Ms. Cordero.
I'm sorry, it's 3 years.
So the 91,000, that's a 3-year subscription, so it's about 30,000 a year, is that right? And my question is gonna be after that 3-year contract, I guess, if we're gonna pay for it all up front, where is this money gonna come out of local funds, or where is this money gonna come from, if we don't eliminate this software after the end of the 3rd year?
So I think 3 years from now, Mr. Cordero, we have 108, which is Title IV, that's a student services budget, this would be appropriate. There's also a possible use for Panorama for CTE, and so it's possible that we could blend some of that funding to maybe replace Major Clarity, which we're using right now. And then, I assume we could look at, there's an academic piece to it and then local, but that's a question for Ms. Lisa Nowlin.
Ms. Nowlin's not present with us, is that right, Dr. Breedlove?
I'm here, sir.
Yep, she's
Okay,
here.
thank you. I don't know if you have any feedback, but certainly your feedback would be helpful on these questions.
Yes, sir. The goal is to just replace it with alternate federal funding. We have identified those areas. I'm confident that we can fit those things in those areas.
Understood, thank you so much.
So, Ms. Radaball, how is this data gonna be inputted to make their job easier? If we have a kid that's absent, the teacher puts in an absent or however they do it, and it gets shipped to the principal, and then she puts it in, or the data manager, you can tell me what the process looks like.
This platform, Mr. Springer, communicates with Infinite Campus and our other academic software, so that just say 2 weeks after we have it and it's been communicating with everything, we can pull up a student list of risk and look at all of their data side by side to help us determine the root causes of those attendance issues. There's a reason, the function of that behavior, why the kid isn't coming to school. This will be our one-stop shop of data for that student to help us make better decisions and better interventions.
all right, any more questions? anyone like to make a motion for this? Did anyone want to make a motion for approval? Y'all hearing me?
We hear you, Mr. Hall.
All right. So there's no motion for approval on this, is that what I'm hearing?
Are there any other questions we could possibly ask?
Is there any other questions that we can answer to help get approval for the purchase of this product?
All right, I'm not hearing anything, so there's no motion for this, correct? All right, the item dies. Mr. McPherson, you're back, I think, with an answer about bar and bar, correct?
Yes, sir. So I spoke with Mr. Beck from Bar. They are understanding of the reducing the timeline of beginning on October 1. He is working right now to determine whether or not they can do the work for 375. He's supposed to get back to me as soon as possible. I told him the timeline he was up against. He said he needed a second to look at the schedule and to see if they could do the work at that number. And he would call me back as soon as possible.
Well, I don't know how we can.
Mr. Spivey, can you mute your microphone, please?
All right. We can't really proceed without a yes or no, so, how long do you think, Brandon, I
told him at most he had 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, why don't we recess for 20 minutes from now then, and come back and see what he's got to say. Is everybody okay with that?
Don, I believe it's probably going to take more than 20 minutes, that's my opinion, prior practice.
Okay, well.
That's why I said earlier, October 1st, and 30th, for them to get things figured out.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, do y'all want to just revisit it somewhere around that date then?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So I guess,
It does, Mr. McPherson, correct me if I'm wrong, it does sound like they're willing to negotiate if they're going to start looking at the schedule again and.
It does. It was not a no, it was let me reanalyze the numbers.
Correct. Okay, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm just worried about if we don't do something today, are we delaying the project?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, then, do y'all want to pick this back up at our regular October meeting, or should we, as soon as they have an answer for us, should we schedule something then, or what does everybody think?
That's the route I would go, Mr. Hall, when they have something,
Yeah.
just because, the time and the date.
Okay. Brandon, are they going to contact you when they get ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, if you let us know, then we can schedule something like this, and vote it yes or no. So how about that?
Yes, sir. That sounds good.
All right. Anyone have anything else before we go?
This is Mr. Cordero.
Sure.
In the interim, Mr. McPherson, I don't know if you can maybe incorporate some of those changes, based on Mr. Springer's comments, and then send an updated version of the contract to the board for review. That might help, any subsequent meeting go along more smoothly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good, Mr. Cordero.
Yep. All right. Anything else? All right. Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion that we adjourn?
Mr. Cordero, so moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll start with Mr. Cordero.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Springer?
Mr. Springer says yes.
And Mr. Spivey? Yes. And Ms. Burns?
Sir,
right.
there is a
Yeah.
question, Mr. Hall? Mr. Chair, there is a question about closed session today. Were we to have a closed session, portion of this meeting?
Well, if it wasn't on the notice, we can't, but it's,
I'm being told that it was on the notice, sir.
It is on there, okay.
But however, I'm being told that we could skip it should you choose.
Oh, well, so I don't have a notice in front of me. That's the issue here. My school computer is not here, and that's my mistake. Well, Mr. McPherson, let me ask you then. This is in reference to the investigation. So is closed session a proper way to do it with like attorney-client privilege?
Yes, sir. And also to seek legal advice. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Burns, would you make a motion for closed session?
I move that the board enter into closed session, subject to advice from the attorney pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 to consider matters relating to personnel matters. The board will also enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Mr. Cordero, second.
So, don't mute me. I already had myself muted. All right. Before the mute interrupted me, I think that we've got a motion on the floor for closed session. Do we have a second?
Mr. Cordero, seconds.
Mr. Cordero, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. We are now in closed session.
We're good. Mr. Hall, we're now out of closed session.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second, Mr. Cordero.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Brent says aye.
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 Jason says aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Be careful. Lots of water around. Appreciate everybody being here. Talk to you later.